Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Unhooked playlist. So this week we're actually going to be kicking off two spin-off series from our original Fundamentals playlist where we covered all the basics of unhooked riding. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a playlist focused on the intermediate level riding where we're taking all those original tricks that we covered to the next level. But we're going to bounce back and forth between this and a second park style playlist. So we've had actually a lot of requests to do some park tutorials and cover the wake style riding side of unhooked kiteboarding. So for this week, we're going to be covering a really exciting trick, and that is the Raley to blind. So this is really that first level trick where you take one of the most basic fundamental moves and you just add a backside 180 to it where you spin to blind. So this really is one of the most exciting intermediate level moves because you're taking your first fundamental move and you're pairing it with a rotation where you do that Raley and you do the back 180 together. And it's kind of like, it's almost like the kickflip in skateboarding where once you break past this barrier, you really start opening a lot of doors. And this is the one where most people kind of get stuck and never really get past. So for these videos, I'm gonna try to keep them a bit shorter than the original, but we'll keep the same format and cover all the little things that you do need to know. But you should go back and watch the first series on fundamentals before moving on to this next playlist, because you do need to have that foundation before you try to go to these next level tricks. So this is gonna be a fun one. Let's get to it. Alright guys, so don't forget to click the eye icon in the upper right hand corner of your screen to get that free written guide where I break down everything you need to know in kind of a more ordered format on this trick. So first up, let's talk about the difficulty scale. And kind of like with the Fundamentals series, I really wanted to hammer the point home that all of the basic unhook tricks are super easy. They're like a 1 out of 10 on the difficulty scale. So with that ranking, moving up from the beginner level to the highest level unhook tricks, the Raley to blind is actually only a 2. This is a super common trick that you might see at cable parks. So I want you to get it in your mind that this is not as challenging of a trick as you would think. So like all of our unhooked videos, I'm gonna break this down into steps. And the first step of this video is to go back and make sure you've mastered that first video on the Raley, getting your body positioning right, getting your pop right, really getting all of those fundamental skills dialed so that it's effortless for you. And once you have that on lock, the second step is to do another video from that same series, and that was the video on the surface pass or the video on the pop to blind. And I'm not kidding when I say you really should be able to do those 3 videos effortlessly. You should have done at least 500 surface passes by now, at least 500 pops to blind, and I really do mean that. If you want to land this trick with ease, come into it without getting hurt or really like paying your dues, if you know what I mean, you can really save yourself a lot of headaches if you go back and work on those videos and get those fundamental skills down to the point. It's kind of like that wax on, wax off mentality from Karate Kid. You're building the muscle memory so that when you go to do it, you can do it immediately and it comes easily. So for the third step on this trick, we're just gonna break down an overview of the trick. So just like the Raley, you're gonna get good speed, you're gonna park your kite at 45 degrees, and then you need to load the kite properly. So that means leaning back with your body stiff, like you're sitting in a chair with good posture. So stay locked at the hips, stay locked at the ankles, lean back and load some energy into the kite, and then do a good scoop, just like we covered in that pop video. Now, once you're in the air, you're gonna let yourself get kind of stretched out into the Raley position. So your back is arched, your legs are up behind you, your ears are kind of tucked into your shoulders, and you can kind of, you can vary depending on what level you are on this trick. So if you wanna go for like a half Raley, you can kind of bring your legs up halfway. If you wanna go for the full Raley and really get stretched, that's up to you. Obviously, the more stretched out you go, the more difficult this trick becomes. So the key to this trick is to keep the bar as close to your hip as possible. So after your rally, you're gonna pull really hard and you're gonna get that bar into your lead hip. And at the same time, you're gonna initiate a rotation by looking over your back shoulder and committing to the spin. And you almost need to overcommit on this one, because just like I talked about in some other videos about the approach for tricks, you're coming across to the wind, you're loading upwind, and you're landing downwind. So you're really doing almost more than a full 180, because you're kind of loading upwind and then you're coming all the way around. So you don't want to land going in the same direction you initially loaded your lines. You want to land going downwind on this one. So commit to that spin and try to get the bar into the small of your back. Like, you should almost have your backhand kind of like touching your harness or just below your harness, and really get that bar all the way around. Now for the landing, I find that it helps to get my front hand on the bar as soon as possible, and I like to kind of hold it with both hands. Some people will hold on with just one hand, and that definitely looks more stylish. But if you hold on with two hands, you're gonna kind of get your body positioning right so that you don't get pulled off an edge. And part of the trick with this one is you do want to land flat, but sometimes it helps to kind of point your toes and just stop that initial rotation. Almost like when you're snowboarding and you do like a little 180 in the snow, you can kind of dig your toes and stop yourself from spinning around more. And I do find if I come into this one with a lot of speed, that if I do land completely flat, it is easy to kind of slip out and overspin, almost like doing a flat 3 on the water after the initial rotation. So if you kind of point your toes a little bit and just stop that rotation in the water, but let the board go flat and ride downwind with both hands on the bar, this is going to be much easier for you. Now, some of the common mistakes with the rally to blind are not committing. So what a lot of people do, myself included when I was learning this trick, is, you know, you go for the blind rotation and you don't land downwind. You land going across to the wind in the same direction that you loaded your lines. And what happens is when you land, the kite starts to load back up, and then it will either rip the bar out of your hands, or it could slam you down on your edge, and it can get it can get kind of scary if you don't commit. So it's kind of one of those funny things where if you don't go all the way, you're gonna pay the price. And if you just commit and go all the way, even if you're underpowered and you almost kind of surface pass out of this one, as long as you commit to that complete rotation and ride downwind, you take a bunch of power out of the kite. It's actually a pretty chill landing, and it's one of those tricks that starts to feel really good, and you kind of get a flow to it once you start landing it. And the big thing with this one is you do want to practice the rally blind and the rally to wrapped, which is the front 180, and we'll do that in a separate video. But you do want to practice this one again, probably like 300 to 400 times, just like those first 2 initial videos, and you're still just building that muscle memory for the next progression, which will be the advanced series, where we talk about the blind judge 3, or the blind judge, which is just this trick where you do the pass in the air and then come all the way around for a full 360. And in wakeboarding, the rally to blind and the blind judge are kind of considered the same trick. They don't really break it up or define it with the pass in the air. In kiteboarding, for some reason, we do have that definitive, like, if you pass it in the air, it's called a blind judge. If you pass it after you land, we call it the rally to blind. Each to their own. To me, it's all just a blind judge, but I get that in kiteboarding, kind of that next progression up is passing in the air. And we will do a specific video on that one as well, because I would say on the kite that it is significantly harder to pass the bar in the air rather than landing and kind of passing it in both hands on the water. So that's it for this week. If you guys found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.